Welcome to my Billion Dollar IP Strategy Framework. I'm Raymond Hegarty. I'm an IP coach and author of 2 books on IP strategy. I'm going to take you through the framework that I use with my top clients. The Billion Dollar IP Strategy Framework comes in 4 stages. You begin with recognition, and then move to awareness, and then clarity. And from there, you move to the activation phase. We start with recognition. Recognition is acknowledging that you have intellectual property that contributes to the value of your business. When you recognize that intangible assets contribute significantly to your business, the logical approach is to follow a process actively to identify, measure, and manage how these assets contribute to your business success and value. The first part of this process is to perform an IP audit, where you will make a list of the various assets that you have now. You don't need to itemize every single intangible asset in the business. Focus on the most important ones. Many people view an IP audit as simply a process of making an inventory of their IP assets. These people miss out on the true value of the exercise. The next step is to link each of these intangibles to economic and strategic benefits. This is something that takes a lot of thought. Indeed, I recommend some clients to have a one-day off-site meeting to really think through how each asset is connected to future economic and strategic benefits. This becomes the first flywheel of the IP strategy framework. From this, your senior executives get an overall awareness of where IP fits in your company. With this increased awareness, you develop a sensitivity to other intangible assets that contribute to your business. With this awareness, you can fill in the gaps in your list of assets, thereby building a more comprehensive picture. This is your second flywheel. While you're taking this inventory, you will already identify things that you can fix. For example, you could find that employees hired at different times have different conditions in their employment contracts regarding confidentiality or IP developed in the course of their employment. You might find that you're paying for maintenance of a trademark that you're no longer using. You can work on the things that you fix quickly, and this becomes your third flywheel. When you know your intangibles, how to connect each one to economic and strategic benefits, and you've filled out a comprehensive list, and you've tidied up all of the items that you can remedy, this brings you to a new baseline called clarity. Now, I've said all of this to you in a few minutes. In reality, this process involves a complete shift in culture that can take weeks or even months. After you've gone from recognition through awareness to clarity, you're ready to enter the activation phase. The activation phase has 4 elements which deal with your portfolio of intangible assets and growth ambitions. They are namely prune, enhance, monetize, and mitigate IP risks. I will explain each of these in more detail. As your business evolves, not all of your portfolio will still be relevant to generating future economic or strategic benefits. This brings us to pruning. There are several aspects to pruning. If some of your assets are not performing well or giving the best economic value, you can divest parts of your portfolio. You can sell some of your non-core assets and generate cash for those old assets. If this is not possible with all of your assets, you can simply abandon some assets. This means you can save on the maintenance costs and the ongoing fees that you would have to pay to keep your registrations open for those assets. Another element of pruning is to create spin-outs, where you can take underperforming IP, give it a new life in a new business that will generate new income sources. A second element to your intangible portfolio management is enhancement. And the enhancement can be developing new IP internally or acquiring IP externally. The difference between these two is that internally developed IP is very focused on your own core business, but it can take a long time to develop the IP and to register and obtain protection. You can acquire IP assets that are already on the market. The price can be more expensive per asset, but it cuts out the risk and also the time involved in otherwise developing an asset. Monetization is specific to individual client circumstances. If necessary, we can develop a whole new workshop on this topic separately. Then we look at mitigating IP risks, and we will divide that into 4 broad categories of IP risk. The first category is the risk to your own IP, where you have your own IP lost or compromised through poor administration. It can also be undermined through other people infringing or even having your IP annulled. The next IP risk is the partner's risk. If you're involved in any kind of development partnerships, especially in open innovation arrangements, you face the risk of your IP being appropriated by your partners. You could also risk infringing on IP belonging to the partners. And before getting too deeply into any collaboration, you need to decide also about any new IP that could be jointly developed. Who owns this so that we don't have any disputes afterwards? With customers, and especially with very strong and powerful customers, you need to make sure that you have a sophisticated IP proposition before you demonstrate any of your intellectual assets to them. And then the last issue is third parties, where you have third-party risk, for example, the risk of being accused of infringing other people's IP. These four broad categories of prune, enhance, monetize, and IP risks add value in different ways to the company. The pruning involves cost saving, and with a smaller pool of assets, you can demonstrate a higher return on investment for each asset. Enhancing is increasing the overall intangible asset value. Monetization is increasing revenue, and mitigating IP risks allows you to reduce exposure as you grow your company.